My name is Ted Yabut. In this channel, you will meet our members and learn how they finished and published their books. If you are a new writer struggling to finish a book and get it published, watch this channel and meet authors and learn how they manage the writing and publishing process. Today, let me introduce Chuck Scott. Chuck Scott started in the military at a very young age, an era that was to shape the rest of his life. Qualifying as a Canadian Forces parachutist at 18, he went on to become an infantry skills and fieldcraft instructor. As a civilian, he spent many years as a professional scuba instructor and 5 seasons as a remote access wildfire suppression specialist, including a stint as a smokejumper, parachute-delivered firefighter, that is. Well-traveled throughout Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, and South America, he fell in love with the Amazon rainforest. From 1990 until 2003, he led photographic expeditions into some of the most remote corners of that vast wilderness. His specialty was accessing the high forest canopy with climbing ropes. He lives with his wife, Nayla, at the foot of the Coast Mountain Range near Vancouver, Canada. Welcome, Chuck.
Thanks, Ted.
How are you?
Very well.
Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Chuck, oh yeah, sorry. We're here to talk about your book.
Well, this was my first endeavor to actually complete a book, thanks to the writers group. It's called Never to Be Seen, and it's inspired by some of my experiences as a guide in the jungle. Of course, I never did actually run into drug traffickers in the jungle, but it's an extrapolation from some of my actual experiences there.
But tell us what inspired you to write this book?
Well, it was a very strange thing. I had a dream, and actually I'm going to read a sequence that inspired that, but I had a dream of escaping through the forest and hiding in a root structure of a washed out tree at a river's side. And the book basically grew from that. I went in both directions, both how I got there and how it finished.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
what a tantalizing way to get inspired. Let's get to it. Could you find and read us an excerpt from your book?
Certainly. Now, as I was mentioning, it's the story of a photojournalist who happens to be in the deep jungle with friends doing some wildlife photography. It's what he likes to do on his time off, to take pictures of wildlife. Sadly, they run into an illegal drug lab operation that's been manufacturing and then exporting cocaine to the United States. He happens to run amok of them, and they end up murdering the rest of his party and deciding that they would like to have a little fun. So they decided to hunt him through the jungle with their dogs. It doesn't go the way anybody planned. And here's the excerpt. Dan had clung to his root perch under the overhang during the late afternoon rain. Because of the roar of the nearby flowing water, he had not heard the conversation that took place literally centimeters above his head. Nor had he heard the execution of the suffering dogs, nor could he see the spot where Rico had retrieved the knife from. Having no idea of what was happening about him, whether or not his ruse had worked, or even if his pursuers had left the area, he clung precariously among the roots in a dark eternity of muscle strain, sweat, and the pungent odor of wet earth. For all he knew, he thought as his fingers cried for relief from their duties of grip, those bastards were sheltering from the rain, under the tree above him. He had not seen the second set of falls from his original viewpoint. It was only in the process of laying his deception that he had seen them and further blessed his luck. Abandoning his knife had been an afterthought just before he had lifted himself up into the root structure. No sane man would abandon his only tool. He smiled to himself in the dark. It was the trophy returnable to the Yank as proof of success for Garcia, and he was hoping it would just be the excuse needed to abandon the search. He had no idea his plan had worked, and as he strained in terror, his tormentors were already on their way home, stumbling through the forest in curses of the rain, missing lunch, and now being late for dinner as well. As he reached up into the dark recesses, he had prayed there was no one else already in residence. He had even mumbled as much out loud as he struggled to get a foothold, the soft earth falling into his face as he disturbed it. Finally, just after dark, while attempting to relieve a cramp, his strength failed him. A root gave way and he tumbled from his hiding place. He was unceremoniously deposited in the mud at the river's edge. In later accounts, he often explained that he had intentionally froze, not moving a muscle so as to avoid attracting attention, and lay there in the dark, ready to make his life dear for the taking. The truth, however, was rather less inspiring. Lifting up on one elbow for a dazed look around, seeing nothing in the moonlight, he collapsed into a sound sleep of exhaustion. The pre-dawn chill brought him back to an agonizing consciousness. He lay as still as his shivering would allow, and again felt intensely sorry for himself. When he saw the light beginning to appear in the east, he dragged himself up into a half-sitting position and brushed off some of the soil that had half buried him in the shower of earth that had followed his tumble from hiding. A strange tourist in a strange land, he watched motionless as the sun appeared right above the falls to his left, and in an explosion of light and spray creating rainbows. Passive, unthinking, his hands in his lap, he watched the splendor of the day's birth. Finally, when the warmth of the sun had returned to the violent little riverbed, he roused himself to his feet and staggered toward the water. His only thought was to wash. Garcia and his vultures could have been camped on the bank behind him. He was beyond the caring. That morning, it was not Garcia, but Kukuyatan who was watching him. Long before dawn, Vota had guided the wind, as they called their hunting party, to the site of his story. Now Kukuyatan sat on the opposite bank in the cover of the foliage and considered the savage in the rocks at the river's edge 30 meters away. There was no doubt in the minds of the members of the Wind that this man was about to die, but it was his leader's way to consider all things first before acting, if time permitted. And we'll stop there.
All right. Very good, Chuck. Uh, what, what a compelling way to start the story. Your hero is already in trouble and about to die, surrounded by tribesmen. Who knows who they are? In the Amazon, no less. Uh, Chuck, this is a very compelling book, and this is the first in a series, I gather.
It is. It is. This is actually book 2. The first book in the series talks about our hero's father and his experiences during the last World War, and then the third book, because international crime syndicates have large, long reach, and his troubles pursue him back home. So he ends up in a very bad situation again from his own hometown.
Wow, I think readers of your book have a lot of options. They can read the backstory with the first novel, and they can read another story. So there's 3 that they can feast on just one when they get started on your series. Tell us, where is this particular book available right now?
It's available on Amazon. It's a matter of just searching for my name, Chuck Scott, or the name of the book, which is Never to Be Seen. Either search will bring it up pretty quick.
Very good. Well, all the links to where the book is available will be at the end of this video. Thank you all very much for watching. Thank you, Chuck, for joining us. Please subscribe to this channel for more book launches and interviews. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you.
Okay.